Game week 11 in the Premier League, fresh off a bunch of Friday press conferences. I am joined by BigManBakar. Welcome in, big man. We got game week 11. We have a lot of questions that need to be answered. How are you doing on this Friday?
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. I'm doing well. Hello, welcome to all the listening viewers. Yeah, I mean, relatively straightforward week for me personally in terms of my team and transfers. So I'm very happy with the fact that nothing pressing has emerged from the press conference that has put me into last minute panic mode. So hopefully the next few hours will be calm before the deadline as well. But I realize that quite a few people are in a position with a lot of pressing issues to address in their teams, which we can just talk about them straight away.
Yeah, last week it seemed like a lot of the hyped up players produced. Is that going to happen in game week 11? We will find out. But rotowire.com/soccer. Check out all of the content. Bakar has a couple articles up on the site. We cover all injuries. We cover all predicted lineups as well, and a little bit of everything. But we're going to get into some of the odds here as we start with game week 11. I also rank all 220 players if that's something you're interested in. But we got cheat sheets with lineups and odds and stats. Chelsea are the biggest favorite in game week 11. Bakar, we have questions here at forward. There's always a question forward, no matter what game week it is. There's always a question at forward. Let's see if we have. There's always a question at forward. Gyokeres picks up the injury. Scores picks up an injury. So we can start there. Arsenal are at Sunderland, and a lot of people were buying Gyokeres for their upcoming fixtures. Now he's injured. So what decision to make here with Arsenal going forward?
I think that's the biggest talking point of the week, isn't it? I mean, I own Gyokeres myself, and I was actually quite pissed when he came off at halftime. He was playing really well, if I'm being honest. Both Saka threw in goal as well. Saka missed a good chance. So with the latest update is that he's going to be out till after the international break. That's what reports are suggesting from the Athletic. And then we saw Sweden name their squad for the upcoming internationals, and Gyokeres wasn't part of it. So that's good signal to the fact that he's not going to be playing this week, and he might even be out for game week 12. And I think a lot of the listeners will agree with me when I say that he was probably a sell by game week 12 or 13 anyway, because Arsenal's fixtures would relatively stiffen up at that point, and Havertz might eat into his minutes as well, because Havertz is also scheduled to come back. So long story short, I think Gyokeres is a sell. Now, who do we pick is another big and interesting dilemma. I think for those who don't have Mateta, I think the decision is very easy. Given his form, fixtures, I think swapping to Mateta is just a very, very easy option. I got him in last week. He did well. If you look at the fixtures that are being shown on the RotoWire fixture ticker, you can see that Palace are playing Brighton, Wolves, United, Fulham in some of the next few fixtures. So that's just a very strong run. If you own Mateta, the decision becomes very tricky, in which case I think there are two possible routes down which you can go. I have chosen the former, and I will be downgrading Gyokeres to Giroud. Now, that is because I've already used the bench boost, so I don't need an eighth playable attacker. Secondly, it's because I feel as if besides Haaland and Mateta, there are not too many forwards that appeal who have upcoming short-term fixtures to come. And also the fact that I like the idea of now pumping funds into defense and midfield, particularly to get Saka, because I think there will be certain weeks, for example, game week 12 is one where Saka could be a potential captaincy option, or even in game week 16 when Arsenal playing Wolves. Or even maybe this week. I mean, this is a week where I'm even considering going against the grain, and I might go against the robot that is Haaland. But that remains to be seen. But just to keep that flexibility open, having Saka is great.
Steve is saying we got to get you a nice Haaland portrait to hang up behind you, maybe in the future.
I have a few Haaland jerseys. I don't have a portrait. Maybe I can have it framed behind me.
There we go. Yeah, one of the questions here, we talked a little bit about Gyokeres here. Who are the best Gyokeres and Reijnders replacements given that the bench boost is used? You already touched on this a little bit with the bench boost use and Gyokeres, but now throwing Reijnders here in the midfield. So a couple different replacement options there.
I think with Reijnders, I just don't think that he's secure for minutes going forward. He will play most of the games. He's first choice. He did well in the Champions League, assisted twice. So while I still think he's first choice, I just can't. I just can't be bothered owning him at a point where you're second guessing whether or not he's starting every week, especially considering the fixture congestion that is coming up with the Christmas schedule as well and midweek football in December. I feel as if Reijnders is a sell. I will probably get Minte. I got Minte from my team as well last week. He got 9 points. He's clearly the best Brighton attacker to have, and he's secure for minutes as well, which is generally quite a rare combination for a Brighton player. If he can get the Brighton fixtures up on screen as well, Adam, that would be great, because Brighton have a really good run of fixtures going forward, and I just feel as if Minte is going to be a really nice hold for a while.
Yeah, at Crystal Palace, home versus Brentford, at Nottingham Forest, home Villa, home against West Ham. So just a really good next 5, and then a little difficult with trips to Liverpool and Arsenal, but that's in December. That's more than a month away. So right now. Well, I guess, did you mention Welbeck at all when talking about forward? What are your thoughts on Welbeck overall?
Welbeck is someone who's done well in recent weeks, but then again, his hamstrings worry me, and his injury record isn't all that great. And if I was investing in Danny Welbeck, I just don't foresee myself owning him in this hectic festive schedule. I think there are better times to invest in him. I also want to touch a bit on some of the other forwards in play that are Thiago and Joao Pedro. Now, the thing with Joao Pedro is that he was being match sold last week. I sold him last week as well. But then it turns out that he's back on the score sheet, as is so often the case with him this season. When you own him, he doesn't do anything. When you don't own him, he does well. And now a lot of people are considering him because there's a reasonable case to be put to getting him back in the squad. I personally feel as if I won't do that, though, because I still don't feel as if he's an out-and-out goal scorer. His underlying data isn't all that strong. And the fact that after the next 2 fixtures against Wolves and Burnley, you'll probably have to swap him out for another forward anyway. And I just don't want to be in a position where I'm swapping a player in and out.
Yeah, Joao Pedro has been the nemesis of many in FPL this season. He opened the season very popular. I think it was above 60% because he had that good Club World Cup, however many goals he scored in the Club World Cup over the summer. Started well, had the big game against West Ham, which everyone was in the beginning of the season, and then he just wasn't getting shots. He wasn't getting shots on target. We talked about last week. Do we trust this guy who doesn't get any shots on target? Then at Spurs and at Tottenham, 5 shots, all of them on target, gets the goal, gets the bonus points. Just really up and down here. And I guess you're saying, so if you don't have Joao Pedro right now, that you don't want him, that you don't want to add him, is kind of what you're getting at, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, basically, because when you look at the stats like you're showing on screen, I mean the 5-shot match is a clear anomaly, right? That's what I'm going to presume is going to be the case. And I just don't think had his fixtures been good for a while, I would have considered him, but not when there are better alternatives available. I also want to touch a bit on Thiago, as I mentioned earlier. Thiago has done all right this season. He's done well, actually, for his price. It's been really good. The thing that worries me with Brentford, if you can touch on the fixture schedule, is the fact that their fixtures to come aren't all that great. They're playing Newcastle, Spurs, and Arsenal in 3 of the next 5. So I feel as if Thiago is probably avoidable. There's this fixture in game week 13 that appeals at home to Burnley, as you can see on screen. But apart from that, there's a sea of red that's surrounding it. I also feel as if with the current FPL stratosphere, a lot of FPL managers will be looking to free hit in game week 13 because now we're entering into a period where Liverpool have a really nice fixture swing, and in game week 13, Liverpool playing West Ham as well. I feel as if a lot of us might choose to free hit in game week 13, even though obviously that's not set in stone, but that is a good possibility.
Yeah, 13 looks like a good time to get a lot of players that maybe you aren't on. You mentioned the Liverpool ones. If there are some City players, they're home against Leeds, and then Aston Villa, for some reason, you want to go back onto the Ollie Watkins, Morgan Rogers train for 1 week here. It would be game week 13, home against Wolves, who still do not have a real manager here. Or I should say it real, but they don't have a manager. They haven't hired anyone new since the sacking of Vitor Pereira. So kind of a weird time here to be Wolverhampton, as no one wants to manage them, sitting at 2 points here after 10 matches.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's like...
Looks like Bakar dropped out here, but we'll keep it running. We have a question. Again, rotowire.com/soccer. We got this cheat sheets with odds, lineup, stats. YouTube15 is a code for 15% off. We got bringing him back in. We're bringing Bakar back in. He is back. So we have the next question. Keep Joao Pedro, sell Stoch, and Semenyo for Enzo and Mats Wiefer, bench enabler. Thoughts?
It's a tricky one because I really, really rate Enzo for the next two, and I think Stag is useless. But selling Semenyo before the upcoming fixture schedule is a bit tricky. I mean, I did it last week before City away, but now his fixtures are gradually going to get better and better every week. I think I would probably find another route to Enzo, or I would try and find a route in my team where I'm just not playing Stack or I'm playing someone else in my 11.
Yeah, Mats Wiefer, what is he? A 4.9 midfielder. Yeah, I think you can
He plays
do
the right back occasionally.
Right. Yeah, I feel like okay, that's fine. Do you like? So I've been looking at other players. Also, 4.9 is Sean Longstaff. Would you like, instead of a Mats Wiefer here, Sean Longstaff takes set pieces and sometimes defensive contributions? I feel like he's just a little better than Mats Wiefer. I know he's a bench enabler for this question, but
I think a better way of putting it would be that he's everything that we expected Stack to be, because we expected Stack to be on set pieces. We expected him to play, the significant majority of minutes, and it's turned out that Longstaff has taken over that role. I don't mind the Longstaff play, but I just feel as if selling Semenyo to Enzo is a bit sideways. I realize that it releases a bit of cash, but I would prefer if it's put to better use than selling, let's say, Stack to Wiefer or Stack to Longstaff.
yeah, just you want a little something else. Would you say Bryan Mbeumo is a buy given he leaves for AFCON around game week 16? And as an alternative, what do you think of Foden or Gakpo?
That's an interesting question. I don't think that I would buy Mbeumo at this point. I've said it in previous streams as well. I think Fernandez is personally a better pick, because even though Mbeumo has done well in terms of his performance this season, Fernandez, had he scored the 2 penalties, would still be ahead of Mbeumo, and his XGI, his underlying data is simply better. He also benefits from better bonus accumulation and defensive contribution points as well. So I feel as if you're buying a Man United attacker, it has to be Fernandez, in my opinion. I also feel as if that, even apart from the AFCON, I feel as if even Cunha might turn out to be a nice differential, especially when Mbeumo goes, because his minutes will be much better. Currently, there's still like the slight sort of cloud hanging over his minutes, because sometimes Mount comes in, sometimes Sheshko plays. So we're not exactly sure about his role. But yeah, that's that for now. Coming to Foden or Gakpo, I think City's fixtures are not good enough to warrant having Foden, because when you look at the next two, Liverpool at home and Newcastle away, they are not exactly great fixtures. And then Gakpo is fine, but I feel as if, again, he's a bit of an X-Men stout, and I don't fully trust him for minutes. I think when it comes to Liverpool, if you look at the tracker, Adam, look at the fixtures from game week 12 onwards. I mean, Nottingham Forest at home, then West Ham, then Sunderland, then Leeds, then Brighton, then Spurs, Wolves, Leeds. Liverpool have like an incredible fixture run for for a while after next week. And I feel as if when we're sitting here next week, our first point of discussion will be Liverpool Football Club and discussing which players to target. And I personally feel as if with the current information available at this point in time, I think Szoboszlai is one that at 6.7 million will appeal. He's already risen in price this week, which is strange given that he's playing City, but he has been Liverpool's best player this season. He tends to benefit from defensive contribution points as well. And I also feel as if with Alisson coming back soon, I think Virgil becomes a very nice pick. He's actually quite near the top of the defensive contribution points this season. And with the fixtures coming up, I feel as if he would be a really strong buy.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore the Liverpool fixtures after this trip to the Etihad. I did have a question here. So we got the Mbeumo thing with Manchester United. So he goes to AFCON. It's been Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes on split of set pieces. So Mbeumo is out, stronger left foot, half the set pieces, half the corners. Do you think Bruno Fernandes, he takes all set pieces at once and Mbeumo's at AFCON? You think that's another boost for him?
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely give him all set pieces, in my opinion. Currently, Mbeumo's taking one side of the corners. I think that probably just seals Bruno's potential even more.
Rayan Cherki is one to watch. He's been getting a little bit of buzz lately. He came off the bench midweek, got another goal, was great in his start last week. He's 6.3 million. Compare him to Foden for 8 million. So you get to save the price, but what about the minutes? What are your thoughts on Cherki going forward?
I think more than Cherki as a pick, I think what is more important to recognize there is his impact on the likes of Foden and Reijnders, who are more popular picks. And I feel as if Cherki is definitely eating into their minutes. We saw Reijnders getting benched last week. Cherki played really well. He got a couple of assists. And I definitely think he should start against Liverpool as well. Now, what this is doing is that with him back in the mix from injury, it is impacting Reijnders and Foden as options. And I don't think Cherki is someone I would trust for minutes over the long run, but he is a significant enough problem for the likes of Foden and Reijnders to consider me investing in them.
Yeah, Cherki been really good. In his limited minutes, he's been very good for Manchester City. I guess going into that, have you ever revealed what club you support, Bakar? Because we're getting this person doesn't think you've ever revealed it.
Sachin, I don't actually support any particular club. I just support whichever player gives me points every single week. So currently, for example, I've had double Everton, for example, for a while. So I support Everton in most weeks. I have triple Arsenal for a while, so I've been supporting Arsenal pretty much every week. So it just comes down to my investment in those particular clubs at certain points of time. So it's nice. I mean, I can just support different teams at different times of the year.
Bakar has so much riding on this, he cannot reveal a team that he supports. But speaking of Arsenal here, speaking of maybe having to support them defensively, what is the best move for Arsenal? So dominant defense, clean sheets are outstanding on their clean sheet run, top of the table, all of that. So how do we attack Arsenal? We know Gabriel. That's out of the question. Okay, he's been outside of Haaland, the best player in FPL this season. Triple defense for Arsenal. Do you want Saka? Is there anyone else of interest? Declan Rice, should I mention? What is the move here for Arsenal as we get into their fixtures at Sunderland, home against Tottenham, at Chelsea, Brentford, Aston Villa? Not the best matchups, but not the worst, I would say. So what is the best move here for Arsenal?
Yeah, I feel as if, this is a very important question to address because given how good they've been, it just makes too much sense to triple up. And I feel as if with Arsenal, I would probably go with Saka and double defense as opposed to triple defense. So if anyone has triple defense, that's great. I mean, you've been enjoying a lot of points in recent times to come. But let's say if you're a Gyokeres owner and you're not quite sure whether to use the Gyokeres funds to invest in Saka or to invest in the third defender, I think I would go with Saka because I feel as if with the introduction of defensive contribution points, there's a lot of value in defense. For example, we've seen the likes of Joachim Andersen, we've seen the likes of Senesi perform really well this season. while I don't feel that there are too many good or reliable midfield alternatives to Saka. Now, another thing to sort of mention here is the fact that Saka is also a potential captaincy candidate in most weeks, uh, in the weeks to come. I know Haaland has been like the default captain so far in most weeks, but now looking at the upcoming fixture schedule, game weeks 12, 14, 16, even this week, there is a possibility that you can take Haaland on with Saka. So that captaincy element is enough to sort of sway me towards Saka and double defense as opposed to the triple defense that you mentioned.
So you like Saka for 10 million over Declan Rice for 6.8. That's what you're getting at?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think Declan Rice makes my top five Arsenal players if I was picking one for FPL. Just to clarify, because I prefer the defenders and I prefer Saka for the captaincy. Rice has done all right, but Rice is not someone I can rely on for explosive points every week, like I potentially can with Saka having penalties in his locker. Now that's also another important factor. With Gyokeres injured, there's no doubt over Arsenal's penalties, and it will be Saka for sure.
Okay, I think we maybe should get into this because you are on Enzo Fernandez, and he is about the same price. I believe he's 6.7. Rice is 6.8, and Enzo is what? I guess Enzo is less popular. I was thinking Enzo would be more popular, but Enzo little less popular than Declan Rice. So you just believe in Enzo's upside a little more in that attacking role. While Cole Palmer is injured, whereas Declan Rice a little further back, kind of a thing. That's where the mindset is. A little more upside for Enzo, you would say?
I think the main differentiating factor is pens. I expect Enzo to be on penalties. I know for a fact that Rice won't be on penalties, so that's the main difference. That's why I prefer Enzo. Had Declan Rice had penalties, I think the discussion could have been completely different.
Do we know for a fact if it's Enzo or Joao Pedro on penalties?
We saw Enzo take a penalty against Fulham when Joao Pedro was on the field. So
Okay.
my guess would be that Enzo would continue taking them because he scored that one. But obviously we don't know for sure, but he's like the probable penalty taker.
Yeah, I think it's just an interesting question. Another reason I think you could go Enzo. One, he's less popular, but also instead of using one of your Arsenal pieces on Declan Rice, you could do the triple Arsenal defense. There's more of a reason to do triple Arsenal defense than kind of play roulette with the Chelsea back line, with the Chelsea defenders. We talked about it last week. I assume your thoughts are kind of the same on the Chelsea defenders, Cucurella, Reece James. Reece James, I think he went 90 midweek, so there's even a question of maybe he's not going to start this game. I would, home against Wolves, maybe not, but I would say he does. There is a chance for that. And then just in terms of Chelsea in general, just off and on have been very hard to trust. That Sunderland game, whoever starts, Fofana, Chalobah last week. So maybe more of a reason to triple up the Arsenal defense, whereas maybe you get some of the Chelsea attacking pieces instead.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. I do think James will start because it's an international break after this. So I mean, I think he'll be fine to start again. I just feel as if you're investing in Chelsea defense, it has to be James or no one else. But at this point in time, I don't think I would go actively out of my way to buy a Chelsea defender because there are only like two good fixtures coming up, and then it's like a rough ride.
Let's move on to Newcastle here. If you're one of the unfortunate people to add Anthony Gordon, now that he has a bit of an injury issue, who would you replace? We've talked about some replacements. Gordon is 7.5, so he is above like Enzo, Declan Rice range. Would you go down to an Enzo for Anthony Gordon, or is there someone kind of sitting in that price range where Anthony Gordon is at?
Yeah, I think Gordon's owners have actually been really unfortunate recent weeks because he hasn't done much in the Premier League, while most of his returns have come in the Champions League. So for anyone who plays UCL fantasy, they're having a really good time with Gordon in their teams. But sadly, none of that form seems to be replicated in the Premier League. And now it looks as if he's a major doubt for this weekend. I think he's a sell. I think I would go Enzo if you can go get to Enzo. But if you already own Enzo, for example, then I think you go minted because of reasons mentioned earlier, Brighton's fixtures and his price point. It would also allow you to, get quite a significant saving going down from Gordon to Minte.
Let's stay on Newcastle. You already mentioned, okay, JP Mateta, Haaland are the standout forwards. If you were one of the people, okay, instead of Gordon, maybe you went Woltemade instead. He's also 7.5. He is on more teams. He's on 23.5% of teams. If you went Woltemade at Brentford, home against Manchester City, at Everton, home against Tottenham coming up here. If you went Woltemade, what would you do right now heading into this game week? Would you keep him? Would you sell him?
I think I would probably keep him, especially this game week. Now that Gordon's out, Woltemade will be on penalties. It's quite likely. And the fixture against Brentford is fine. I would expect Newcastle to score. So Gordon's injury, in my opinion, makes Woltemade a better pick.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it was the Champions League match where Gordon went off the pitch and Woltemade had his PK in the upper corner there that everyone was hyping for a couple weeks. But game week 11, captains, everyone's talking to them. Everyone wants to go fade captain, fade Haaland this week because everyone wants 1 week to fade Haaland, and maybe this is the week to fade Haaland. He is minus 145 to score. He is close to a 60% chance to score. He is on everyone's team. He will be the most popular captain again. But who else do you want to score? Next up in terms of the odds to score is Mateta, Joao Pedro, Šeško. We haven't really talked about West Ham at all here, but Jared Bowen is on this list, home against Burnley. Ollie Watkins as well. So who is your favorite captain? If it's Haaland, then I'm going to ask, who is your next favorite captain?
I think this is actually a very interesting dilemma of the week. And I think Haaland and Saka are two which are reasonably close. Now, I realize that Saka, in terms of his goal scoring odds, might not be as good as Haaland. Obviously, Haaland will be much superior, but obviously Saka's odds to assist will be much higher. So you need to take that into account. Then it is also the fact that Arsenal seem to get a clean sheet pretty much every game. So Saka's sort of starting with a 1 point head count as well. So all these things do add up. I feel that's why these two options are relatively close. I'm still on Haaland for now, simply because of the fact that I've had a good few recent weeks, and my risk appetite at this point in time is maybe not as high to overlook Haaland. But I feel as if you're chasing, then Saka is not a bad punt. And who knows, even come deadline tomorrow, I might change my mind because it's like a 60-40 in my opinion. It's really close. It's definitely a discussion which warrants more thought and attention that we've given it in recent weeks.
When are we going to get you on the captain to defender train, Captain Gabriel? Are you ever going to get there?
I think I might get there if there's a double game week, but without double game week, I just don't think I would ever get there.
It's too
a
bad.
lot of people successfully did it last week, but then Haaland scored a brace and it didn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, Gabriel's been doing it. Right now, it's at some point you have to be like, if Gabriel's going to get at least 9 points every game, maybe it is a good idea.
Exactly. I mean, he has been doing it every game, but I just can't bring myself to have the audacity or the balls to captain a defender outside of a double game week.
One more question here. I mentioned West Ham, one of the bigger favorites this week, home against Burnley. That's been one of the best matchups, most favorable matchups of the season. You know, not many people want to add West Ham players for good reason, but they're coming off a positive result. First off, do you have any interest in any of these West Ham players like Paqueta, Jared Bowen? One guy, if you want a cheap midfielder, I know we've mentioned the Longstaffs and the other sub 5 million, but Freddie Potts, 90 minutes in his debut league start for West Ham. Split corners with Paqueta as well. Maybe a defensive contribution play as well in the middle of the West Ham midfield. 4.4 million. I'll shoot it to you. What are your thoughts on the Hammers and Freddie Potts?
Yeah, I think when it comes to West Ham, I feel as if they're in a don't buy, don't sell category this week. They showed some signs of resilience against Newcastle. Paqueta in particular is someone I really, really like, but I feel as if after this week, their fixtures are still fairly tough. When you look at the schedule, it's what Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home, then United, then Brighton. So this is not the best time for investment. I think the only situation where I would own a West Ham player this week is if I was free hitting, then I would probably just have Paqueta. But outside of that, I don't think it's worth investment. You mentioned Freddie Potts. I think he's someone who's worth keeping an eye on, especially if he performs well and gets the minutes going forward, because he could emerge as a cheap enabler, but definitely too soon for now.
So you like Paqueta over Bowen this week, mainly because of price?
Yeah, price and pens, both.
Price and pens until Jared Bowen gets a brace from open play. Then you're going to be regretting that one. Do you have anything else for Game Week 11, Bakar?
I think we've covered most of the topics in detail, Adam.
Very good. Thanks for joining me, Bakar, for Game Week 11. We got an international break coming up, so a little bit of a break for the people. But again, there's gonna be some more content over on the RotoWire Soccer YouTube page. Please like this video, subscribe. Also, there'll be some more content over on the website as well. Bakar, thank you for this. Good luck in Game Week 11. And
pleasure.
I hope you pick the correct captain. I still haven't decided on my captain, but you have more riding on your captain selection than I do. So good luck to you.
Cheers, mate. Good luck to you and all the listeners as well.